Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me on Instagram Live and also Facebook Live. It's a beautiful day here in Manchester, and I'm really excited to share this transmission with you. So, I have been asked by many people, by my students, to share wisdom and practices that are relevant for this time. And over the past few weeks, I've been sharing a whole range of different practices and sharing the wisdom that I hold and channeling some wisdom also in the yogic philosophy, yogic tradition, yogic science, internal family system psychotherapy, energy medicine, meditation, mindfulness, working in the community, lots and lots of different themes and topics of which I teach. And today I was tuning into what I felt was really important in these times, and tuning into the advice and guidance that I've been sharing. And it felt really, really relevant to speak today about working with our guides. So I actually have a cosmic breathwork workshop this Saturday, and I chose earlier this week to focus the theme of the workshop around Kali. And I just did this really instinctively and really intuitively. It felt right to start to share some Diksha teachings and wisdom around Kali. Now, Kali is a deity. She's a deity within the Himalayan lineage, and she's also seen as a deity, of course, within the Hindu lineages, which have come out of the ancient Himalayan lineages, Vedantic and Tantric lineages. And I've done quite a few transmissions about deities and the gods and the goddesses that are often depicted in religions, not just in Hinduism, in many other religions. And I just want to skim over some of this stuff because it's really important when understanding who our guides are. It's really important to start to get a sense of the energies that these guides represent, that the energies that they bring into our lives, that they weave, that they support us with, they guide us and protect us. Our guides have their own unique energies, frequencies. They have their own unique roles. We might have guides that have different roles in our lives that guide us or protect us from in different ways. And we all may have several guides, of course, not just one guide. And it's important also to understand that some of these guides come to us in different forms. And it has been depicted within some religions, within many religions, these guides, deities, are often depicted as physical representations of statues. And I want to say actually that I'm not saying that all guides are deities. I'm using this as a segue, as a story and a case study into understanding a little bit more about guides by starting to talk about deities. And because these deities are often represented in images and physical objects, because of that and because of other reasons, deities have become misunderstood as like these external gods that we worship and we give our power away to. In my understanding, in my experience, that's not what the technology of the deities are there to do. The physical and imagery representations of any deities, any archetypes, any guides are there simply as a creative expression in this 3D relative reality realm for us to learn about, for us to explore. It's part of that 5 sensory perception experience that we as humans at some level at a level really engage with, so that as we move beyond the 5 sensory perception, we have something, a reference point to anchor our perception into. But actually, these images and these statues are limited because they are trying to represent an energy, and you're limiting that within a 5 sensory perception realm. And these energies go far beyond those 5 senses. These energies are infinite and boundless in their nature. And it's only through our own experience, our own practice with these energies, can we really truly come to learn and understand what these representatives represent, and how they communicate with us, how they work through us, and how they can guide us. So absolutely any guide at all is only ever going to be represented in the 5 sensory way in a limited way. It is through our own exploration as energy beings, and through our own exploration in an energetic format, in an energetic way, that we're really truly going to get to know these guides, these deities, these archetypes even. So these energies can be referred to as archetypes in many circles too. And our guides can also be the spirits of people that once walked this earth, people like Jesus, Babaji, the gurus in the Sikh lineage, Mary Magdalene. These are all people that walked this earth, that we know walked this earth. They aren't just mythological creatures. And their spirit lives on in other realms, and their spirits continue to guide and protect us, to support us to navigate. Some of these people, because they reached a certain level of consciousness, they were able to go on and live on in an energetic form in other realms forevermore, and continue to do their work. And they may have also chosen to come back at various times in a physical body, or to not, to stay as pure energy, as pure consciousness, existing in other higher dimensions, in hyper-dimensional realities. So this physical reality, this relative reality, which is time-bound, it's a time-space continuum, is a 3D projection. It's a playground. It's a creation for us to explore, and it is created by our own higher selves and by the higher selves of so many of all other beings. So it's not like Earth is like the pinnacle and this is it. There are other dimensions that exist in the multiverse, in the universe, and now scientists are discovering and theorizing that potentially we are in a multiverse. There's not just one universe, there's many universes. And it's like having lots of layers, like on Photoshop, right? So we have this physical layer, and then we have like the astral layer. We have other layers that basically where energy and consciousness exists within those realms. Entities exist within those realms. Other beings, energetic beings, exist within those realms. And together, we, our higher selves also existing on those realms, project our consciousness and create this physical reality as another playground for which we can explore. So we're all here to explore. Every single bit of physical matter that's existent around here, even your toaster, is here in order to explore its beingness. And on some level, on some other hyperdimensional reality, there is an energetic consciousness, an energy that is existing to project itself in a way as to create what we see and experience here in this physical reality. So there are lots of layers that all link together, where on those layers you perceive a different kind of reality. Yeah, so our guides exist very much in these realms, in these other realms of hyper dimension realms. And many of these guides are eternal. They are eternal. We all are eternal. Our spirits are eternal. Our higher selves are eternal. We do not exist in those realms as we do here. This is a time-bounded reality, and we are born and then we die. We have a physical vessel for which to carry out this journey. However, in other dimensions, time is not the binding aspect. Energy, space, consciousness is. And we don't get bored sitting around with nothing to do. We exist as pure energy and consciousness and explore our beingness. So our guides are eternally existing in realms where they can pop in and out of this physical realm and guide us. They could be our ancestors, they can be deities, they can be archetypes, they can be real people that walked on this earth. I mentioned the ancestors, like I mentioned Jesus and Mary Magdalene. I received some really interesting channelings and downloads from Mary Magdalene in a recent ceremony that I did after being curious about her. And she came to me and told me that following her last life here on earth, she decided that her spirit would leave a bit of itself in each and every human that would walk this earth. What an incredible guide she is for all of us. She's been very instrumental in supporting women to remember that we are the ultimate creative goddess, powerful mothers that have the capacity for deep, unconditional love, forgiveness. And we might not even be aware that we are being guided at first. It often becomes much clearer later on that we are being guided. And then we go on this beautiful journey where we get little clues, and then eventually we learn that we have guides, and we learn who those guides are. So I have a question here on Instagram. How do we connect with our spirit guides? Well, maybe we can do something now. We can do a little practice now to give you some tools to start to do that. Absolutely, let's do that together. So the key to connecting out to our spirit guides is receptivity. And I spoke about this yesterday on my transmission. Now, if you want to see more of my transmissions, then I recommend that you go over to Facebook. And if you're on Instagram, you can find it on my links. It's called the Health and Wellness Community, Holistic Health and Wellness Community. And all of these transmissions are just on there on the feed. I'm actually going to go in today and label them all, but they're just all there. You can scroll down and you can watch the transmissions from other days. Many of the transmissions are just like a kind of melange of wisdom, practice, channelings, readings, that kind of thing. So yesterday I spoke about receptivity. I spoke about this is the time for us to be going into the void. I keep picking that card. I keep getting those signs. Everything is about this shiver, still, silent energy. The representation of the silence, the stillness, the void. And we can see that on a macro and micro. So as above, so below. As we see at the micro level, we see at the macro level, and vice versa. Like in this physical reality, everything mirrors each other beautifully. So the silence and the void is not for us to go within and listen and cultivate that active listening, the spiritual active listening. We talk about active listening in a full sense, but we can also talk about that in terms of energetic, really coming into a state of receptivity. And, you know, it takes a bit of work and a bit of practice to get to this point where you feel, you know, really able to be receptive, to sit still and to listen and to hear what's coming. There's a willingness that's attached to that receptivity also. You know, we've got to really be willing to do this work. We've got to have a drive, a motivation, and develop a commitment to practice, to cultivate the willingness, to come into that state of receptivity. It happens very naturally for all of us at certain times, but for a lot of us, it's something that we work at and we become better at, and we can drop into more easily on demand. So there are lots of practices, meditation practices, kriyas, which are evolutionary dynamic practices in the Yoga Vedantic Himalayan tradition, which I'm a teacher of. There are many Reiki and Sekhem practices that you can do that helps you to drop into a state of receptivity and helps you to tap into that void, into the gap, and really be able to listen. So that's kind of one step. The other thing that goes alongside that is also learning to work with the mind. So we talk a lot about quietening the mind. And, you know, there's some kind of thing in this quietening the mind thing. But there's also a misconception behind what the mind needs to like get out the way, needs to just be quiet. And a lot of people often struggle with meditation and say to me, oh, I can't come to a meditation class. I can't meditate because I just can't make my mind blank. So these things are kind of all within the same similar realm, that we don't need to, first of all, quieten the mind in order to meditate. With meditation, we come into a state of willingness to sit with ourselves and simply observe what comes up in the mind. And through practicing that, through being able to sit and allow the mind to be present and see, basically learn to see what makes our mind tick, how it works. Then when we really know our own mind, because we've seen it, when we sat with it, we've observed the mind coming up, we've allowed it to be okay that our mind is busy, then we can start to develop a different kind of relationship with our mind, where we start to correct the mind and make adjustments with the mind. And then that's when in time, we're able to ask the mind to relax. Those parts of our mind that might come up and might be busy, we might ask them to simply relax, because we are in a practice, we are in a ceremony, we have a task that we want to fulfill, we're connecting with our ancestors in this moment, and we're simply asking those parts of us to relax, to just be at ease, so that we can come back to the center and come back to the stillness and to listen, to be receptive. So these things work side by side, because if we're constantly trying to suppress the mind and push the mind away, it's not we're not developing that relationship with the mind where the mind is really aligned with us and with our with soul, self energy, and the mind just kind of goes, yeah, sure, I'm going to step aside. I'll relax for a little bit, because the mind feels that it can trust us. It doesn't feel like it's being pushed away. So these things all work together to help us come into this state of receptivity, where we can go into the gap and we can go into the void. And this is where the magic starts to happen. Pretty much these are the prerequisites for any kind of channeling, any kind of communication with your guides, with your ancestors, with the creative intelligence at the center of the universe, with your higher self. It all begins with this fundamental foundational work that we can do. So having a regular meditation practice every day is really important, because it helps us to stabilize into this this dialogue, this new kind of dialogue we can create with our inner world. It helps us to practice being in silence and stillness, practice being okay with having a mind that is active, and being able to watch that mind, and then also do the work to start to correct that mind. And energy work practice is also really, really important. So working with Kriyas, working with Reiki, working with Sekhem, certain symbols, working with crystals, really important to learn to understand how to shift the energy in our fields, and to how to release old energy, the burdens that we've been carrying, trauma, karma, all that kind of stuff. It just, when we shed that, it helps us to be clearer vessels and channels of light. It helps us to be in a place of receptivity, because we've just not got so much stuff that is in the background constantly knocking on our door, like, hey, I'm here, I really want to be worked with, I really want to be released. If we're overwhelmed with our baggage that we're carrying around, with the burdens that we're carrying around, that really actually is the priority. And our guides come through all of that anyway, naturally. So we don't need to worry like, oh my God, I'm missing out because I have this stuff to deal with and I'm not able to be still at this moment and hear my guides. I'm missing out on working with my guides. Absolutely not. Our guides, deities, spirits, and also, I didn't mention before, plant and animal spirits, they are all around us. They're always guiding us. It's not that, okay, well, I'm now worthy because I meditate more and I'm on a spiritual path, so I get the guides coming to me more. That's not it. And we actually need to re-examine what the whole idea of being spiritual is, because that's actually blocking our merging with this technology, accepting this technology, bringing this technology into our field. We're blocking it because we're like, oh, that's for the hippies, or that's like, I'm not spiritual, or whatever it is. Being spiritual, this is the topic that I'm going to be doing next. So being spirituality is simply recognizing that we are spirit. That's it. There's not much more to say on that we are soul and spirit. And we've like, in kind of this, generally speaking, this realm, we've like kind of like just discounted the fact that we are self and spirit, and just gone, oh, well, that's just not important. It's actually the most central part of what and who we are. Our ultimate guide is our higher self. Our higher self, which is like the more advanced soul energy, our oversoul, however you want to say it, that exists on this realm of timelessness, these realms where it's not time bound. And so we already exist as ultimately our own guide in a realm where there is no time. So past, present, future exists all at once, which means our future self is there guiding us here right now, because it can, because this is the playground. It goes beyond this three-dimensional form that we're used to. This playground is like so multidimensional. Our ultimate guide is ourself. And so how do we connect with ourself? We are already connected. It's just about listening and hearing and seeing when those signs and synchronicities come in, and you see 101, 108, or you say a prayer and then you see something physical that really confirms to you, affirms to you what you've been doing, or you do something, or when you get a phone call from your mother, it's just saying something that's so related. I was going to do a retreat weekend, went with some plant medicines, and I knew that I was going to be doing some really deep spiritual work and working with my guides. And I got there, and my husband and I were telling my mother about what we were going to do, and and she's not like really deep into this. She doesn't really know the ins and outs and what kind of entities and we encounter and that sort of thing. And just before we were leaving, she came up to me like really randomly and gave me this teddy bear, and she was like, "Oh, this is the teddy bear that your grandmother gave you." And it was literally as if she just, on some level, she knew, her higher self knew, my ancestors, which are her ancestors, are moving, communicating through all of us, are present, brought all of this together. And she gave me this teddy bear, and I was like, okay. And I took this teddy bear to this retreat, and I had the most full-on experience, face to face, like this, speaking to my grandmother for like a long time and receiving wisdom from my grandmother and love and all this amazing experiences that I received from my grandmother. So all these things come together. We work together within all of these realms because everything is linked. There's not a gateway to get into each realm. It's everything exists. Everything is linked. It's just that maybe we can't see it with our like sensory perception as it is now. And this is also the next level of what the tools can do for us when we start to really clear a lot of the old stuff, a lot of the karma and a lot of the trauma. And then we're like, okay, I've done a lot of that. I'm working now for the collective. I'm working now to get into and experience these altered states of consciousness, into these transcendental states, to channel more wisdom and knowledge from my higher self and from the creative intelligence. And that's where we start to activate more of our technologies. That's where we start to get in this different kind of this new wisdom that we're ready to hear now, because we've done this work on this earthly plane and we're ready to get to the next level. And there's so many of my spiritual teachers are saying that this is what this is about. We are here to explore our beingness and just get to the next level. And it's an individual thing, but many of us are here to support society also as guides in this journey. So ultimately, you are a guide. You are a guide for your community, for your family, for your children in physical form. And you are also being guided by your higher self. You are also being guided by your ancestors, by the animal spirits and the plant spirits that hold space for us physically. And even when we cut trees down and animals become extinct, they still live on in these realms as spirits, and they still come and they still guide us. The jaguar is one of my allies, one of my guides, and comes to me often in ceremony. And I know because the jaguar actually comes within it, like it comes through me, and I'm like this, and I feel the jaguar through me. Whereas with other guides, I kind of feel that they may be around, they may be sitting around, I might even see them. We develop our own relationships with these guides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a meditation also to connect with your guides, which I'm going to share. And I'm going to put it on my Instagram profile, and I'm going to put it on YouTube as well. And it'll go on the Holistic Health and Wellness community page. So I really recommend that you come over to Facebook, you come onto that page, because it makes it really easy for you to scroll through and see what content is there. I also want you to know that I have a cosmic breathwork journey this weekend on Saturday at 6 p.m. GMT. And the theme for this week is Kali. So Kali is one of my guides. She is like very central to me in my world. She really helped me to transmute anger and my pain and my suffering. She's the most compassionate of the deities. She's very much my Ishtar. I love sharing wisdom on Kali, and I have some amazing Kali practices, Kriya practices that I'm going to be sharing as part of my Cosmic Breathwork workshop. It's a very transcendental journey. So we do like a sharing, some wisdom sharing. I often initiate one or two practices, which you can then utilize in your own practice, and you can also teach your students. And then I hold a journey, a 1.5 hour journey, and we're really going to be going into Kali. And Kali's technology really helps us to cut through to the truth, really cut through to the truth, get to the heart of the matter, to really see what is there to be shifted and cleared. But she does this in such a compassionate way. And she may appear kind of a bit frightful from the outside, but that's only because the work she's doing is so intense. But actually, she holds the space in the most compassionate way. So if you want to cut through to your truth, if you want to get and look in at your ego and see what are the parts of you that are ready to be released, you want to look into that mirror, but you want to do it in a really held way and you want to feel safe, then working with Kali is the way to do that. And I will be sharing that this Saturday. So please, please, please get in touch. I'm live streaming my workshops. It's like super affordable. I think I'm charging £25, which is like $30 or something. It's a beautiful, beautiful journey, and I'm really looking forward to sharing it. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share today. Look out for my holistic medicine practitioner training program, which for those of you who are working in some sort of therapeutic capacity, or maybe you're a frontline worker, you're a public health worker, social worker, maybe you're a healer, a teacher. My husband and I have just launched a 4-month online program, which is all about supporting you to develop your own practice, your own professional practice, and your own business, developing your business as well. It's all aimed at holistic practitioners in their many guises. So check it out. It's an amazing course. I'm really excited to share it with you. I have enjoyed sharing this transmission today, as always, sending you so much love. Have a beautiful day, and I really hope to connect with you soon. Please get in touch and send me any questions or comments, and make sure that you follow my page and follow my profile so that you get these updates straight away. Have a beautiful day. Hey, Tammy! It's been so amazing to see so many people that I know on this thread, on Instagram and on Facebook. I know some of you have been leaving messages. Lisa, so great to have you. I'm missing seeing you in person. So many of you. I can't wait to connect and give you all a really big hug. So I will speak to you soon. Take care.